Okay. Looks like everybody's in. I have 7 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Town of Kensington Town Council meeting, Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. First item on our agenda is a moment of silence. Is there anyone that we should be lifting up this evening? Just raise your hand or, Okay. I'm not getting anybody, no hands? Okay, so if we could just bow our head for a moment. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Council, you all received the April 10th meeting minutes. I did not see any traffic on the email of any corrections. Susan, I do have one on the first page under the signage. The second line, the Explore Kensington sign, it is actually the West Howard sign. So there is no Explore Kensington. We talked about adding that. So right now it's a West Howard sign for the Howard Avenue businesses. So delete the West after that.
Okay.
Thank you. Council, did anybody else have any changes or edits? Could we make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from April 10th, 2024 as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I neglected to let everyone know that Council Member Nate Engel is not here today. He is out of the country for a business trip, and he'll be back this weekend. But I did. He is away. So, all right. So let's move down to the Mayor and Town Council under 1 announcements. Matt, did you want to take that?
Sure. Just we'd like to announce that the June 3rd, 2024 town election is coming up. Certificate of nominations are due by 4 p.m. on Monday, May 13th, 2024. If you'd like to run for election, currently Mayor Furman, Councilmember Lichter, and Councilmember Engel, our terms are up. They've all elected to run for re-election. And we are planning a candidates forum if necessary, Thursday, May 23rd. At 7 p.m., which will be held in person and streamed on Zoom and the town's YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions regarding the announcement? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, so we'll move on to number 2. Mr. Kessler is here with us today. So, Matt, I'll let you go ahead and get the ball rolling on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, we received a sign variance request from Mr. Kessler with regards to the monument sign in front of 10335 Kensington Parkway. This is the property that is adjacent to the Kensington Post Office. The requirement for the sign variance follows our regulations within 6-104 of the town code, which requires any changes to a sign, including a business or property owner change, to come into compliance. The sign exceeds our 6-foot height requirement. Not by much, but it does violate our code. So we notified Mr. Kessler that in order to proceed with a sign at that location, he would need to file a variance with the council. Council did receive a staff report with regards to the sign. And Mr. Kessler, if you'd like to, he did provide public comment, which the council should have received. And if Mr. Kessler would like to include any other information, please go ahead.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Council, for hearing this. Yes, new business owner to Kensington. Very excited to be in the town. Would love to get our signage up so we can start really advertising what we're doing there and focus on our mission. I was surprised to hear that we were a couple inches above the requirements, and it's it's got a temporary sign out there, which I don't think looks fabulous, and we'd love to, make it look good. It is going to obviously be a tremendous expense on a new business. If we have to replace the monument, I will be frank, that would be tough right now. So we're to whatever degree that factors in. I'm not sure what we would be able to do if the variance was not allowed to kind of go through. We've got funds to put the plastic signs with, I believe, logos that we have already had accepted that look good to the city, and we'd love to be able to go forward with that.
Mr. Kessler, you currently have another sign that's on the building, correct? And it's, I think Alex has a picture. We can throw that up. You didn't buy the building, correct? You're leasing the building, is that right?
Yeah, we're just leasing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a 12-foot long by maybe 3-foot tall sign, plexiglass, the one that's on the building.
Right. But you feel like you need the extra sign?
Well, it's there, number one. So when we first, we're in negotiations to get the building, that was an attractive piece of it. We know that there's a lot of foot traffic and driving traffic, of course, that goes through there. And we do have multiple operations happening inside of the business. In fact, the exact number of slats that there are. So we were very excited to put on the top one, which is a little larger, the same logo that's on the building, and then below it, all of the entities that operate within it, the school, the galleries, the studios. We have 2 other children's schools, a psychotherapy for artists chapter, and a nonprofit that's working within our walls as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we'd love to get them representation. They're all in holding patterns as well, and so we'd love to. I mean, that's tailor made for us. It really is.
So the sign that's up now will not look like that. It'll say other things. It won't just be repeating what's already on the building. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not exactly. The top portion would. It would be a tasteful, smaller version. We have some color coding for each of the entities, so it'll look very tasteful. So there's a red version of the compass that goes for the art center. Forgive me, I think it's purple for the school, green for the studios, orange for the gallery, and then we have Stone Branch, our School of Art, which is teenagers. We have Young Master Art Program, which is age 5 through 12. We have a nonprofit that's helping us out, and Bridget Kuzma's psychotherapy for kids and adults.
Oh, okay, so those would be listed on the sign, so it wouldn't be an exact repeat of what's already on the building.
Not at all. No, it would be advertising for all the different functions that happen inside.
I see. Okay. Council, any other questions for Mr. Kessler?
I'm sorry, I'm in a car. I'm coaching baseball right now, so I appreciate it. So we're winning.
Glenn,
so it's all good.
Glenn, this is Connor. I had a quick question. If you did not receive the variance, what would your options be? To remove the sign entirely at a cost and then have a new sign made?
I'll be very blunt with you, Connor. Funds are real tight right now to get us in there, and all the extra costs. That I don't have the funds to even remove the sign. I don't know. We would just sit there. I don't know what the time frame is for the banner, if that has to come down, but I would be helpless to really do anything. I've got funds, the few $100s that it would be to put in the little plastic sheets, but I do not have the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to replace this and build a whole new one.
And
Darren or Ann?
Well, I had a follow-up question, and you partially answered. First of all, thank you for being here, and we are very excited to have you in the community. But I did want to understand a little bit more about the cost. So have you gotten a quote for removal?
I've talked to Steve over at the sign shop briefly, and he's given me just a very ballparky estimate on removal and construction of a new one. And it sounds like it's high thousands, if not $10,000.
Okay. Okay. And I guess so as a council member who was not here when previous conversations happened around updating the sign ordinance, I'm curious about responsibilities of tenants versus owners of a building, and whether I didn't see that addressed in the code, or if that's ever been navigated before with sign variance requests. So that might be more of a question for Matt than for you, Glenn, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
So typically what we would do is we would issue the violation to the property owner. It just happened that Glenn had applied for the sign permit to what we refer to as refacing the sign. So in order for him to reface the sign, he's applying for the variance on behalf of the business. Typically, at least it would be my opinion, that the removal would have to come from the property owner. I mean, I don't know what kind of lease agreement Glenn has with them. And they may push back to the tenant depending on what the language says within your contract. But the sign's in violation. So we're not looking at content, we're not looking at the number of businesses in there. We can't regulate that. We're not legally allowed to. The variance is strictly because the sign exceeds our allowable calculation based on the applicability, and the changing of the sign kick that in. And
Okay, now,
so if there's a removal, at least it would be my impression that it would be the responsibility of the property owner and not necessarily Glenn or Compass Arts Center. So,
okay. I have a follow-up question for you, Matt, just trying to understand this a little bit better. So, to proceed there with changing the sign, obviously through the permit process, there's a review of the proposed lettering and the design and all of that. And it sounds like Glenn has already started to pick out what the lettering and colors and all of that could look like. Are we at the point where you all have reviewed that, or the only concern that you're focused on in terms of compliance with the code is the height difference?
yeah. So again, what Glenn proposed to Alex and I for the review was to replace the slide panels. So he's taking an existing monument sign and is proposing to reface the slide panels individually. We cannot review that because the actual monument sign, the housing, the casing of the sign is in violation. So we're kind of holding that until we have a determination from the council. I don't want to go off topic too much, but Dr. Kelly's sign is adjacent to this. When Dr. Kelly's sign was installed, it's kind of in one of our initial reviews of the sign ordinance many, many years ago. We didn't really know what to do with it at the time. We kind of left it alone. I don't know. They are part of the same property. They're separate units, but they are part of the same individual property. If you were to look at some kind of new signage, it would probably be best if we incorporated Dr. Kelly into a new sign. If the council decides to go in that direction, maybe that's something that Glenn and the property owner can discuss with Dr. Kelly about sharing some costs. It's just a thought on my side, depending on where the council decides to go on the variance. So.
I would obviously be amenable to that if Dr. Kelly wanted to do that as well. Split the costs and get some signage. And I think it would look prettier if it was all in one sign instead of that extra little bonus sign.
Yeah, it does look a little odd. Does the sign, I mean, are you really, obviously a sign that's held by 4x4 posts with, that doesn't light up is definitely much, not as expensive. Is that an option for you, or you just want something that lights up at night?
We don't need it to light up at night. I think most of our operations do happen during the day. It would be lovely if it did, but no, we would be amenable to anything if we had to. We are a visual arts center, and I think visuals matter. Having a pretty facade, having something elegant looks good, having something modern and clean to match the building. That monument sign mimics in many ways the aesthetic of the building, and I had kind of fallen in love with it. That thought it would be very easy to slip into there, but if it's the will of the council, then I'm sure we could flex to something else. But I'd love to give it a go if it's at all possible to get the variance and just take advantage of what's already there. It is, I believe, only like 2 inches taller or something very small. It's like not egregiously larger than anything else. I think if it was 6 feet, it's 6'2". I even got a little creative and put a little dirt on top underneath the sod and built it up higher. So it's actually only about, it's actually 3 inches under at current. But I understand when you originally measured it when it was installed or something, it might have been higher. It might be 6'3" or something like that. But I think it's 5'9" now.
Any more questions, council?
Matt, when staff measured it, is the housing, I'm looking at the photo in the staff report, is the housing over 6 feet, or is it 6 feet from the top of the housing to the base of the monument?
So the foundation of the sign is included within the height. So that is a county regulation, not a town regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So our base sign regulations are Montgomery County zoning's regulation for signs. What we have is we have additional regulations on top of that. So we cannot be less restrictive than the county. So the way the county measures the height of a sign is they include the base if it's an integral part of the sign, in which case this is. As Glenn mentioned, he kind of tried to raise the ground a little bit. It didn't work. I mean, we kind of knew where it was. So we told him he needed to come for a sign variance on this. But the base does, like if you look at the staff report, you can clearly see the base of the sign that is part of the height as calculated, which is regulated by Montgomery County zoning. So.
And then, thanks, Matt. Two other things. I'm thinking through options. If we were to deny the variance and that goes back to the property owner and the decision is made to remove the sign and then, let the building stand with just the sign that's on the front of the building and not have a monument sign, then this building is left with a sign out front for another building and another business that has nothing to do with the Arts Center, which may add to confusion for people trying to locate either business. Because Dr. Kelly's not in this building. And I think they're actually separate ownerships. Matt, isn't that Dr. Kelly's building a separate ground lease underneath the building, but the parking lot and everything else went back to Lock 7? So I don't think there's common ownership between these buildings to try and work on a joint sign, strategy.
That's my understanding from the most recent lease negotiations, guys, is that, they're all owned by Lock 7, but I do believe they are listed as separate parcels.
Yes.
And if I may also add kind of to your point, we have people who are going to be signing up for, let's say, classes at Stone Branch, and they're going to be looking for Stone Branch signage somewhere to know if they're in the right spot. Without the monument and multiple signage, they will not see that. So it is valuable to us to have each of the organizations that operates within our building listed.
And then, Matt, what other options other than, we can grant the variance and let the sign stay seemingly forever? Could we, similar to other signs in the past, put a clock on the sign to say we will allow it for, I'm making up a number, 2 years. You can operate for 2 years. In 2 years, building owner, you will have to replace the sign.
Building owner?
I don't know their lease. I don't know the terms of the lease. I'm assuming that, the property owner is the one who, without knowing what Glenn's lease is, who's responsible for the sign.
Yeah. So we did provide the Kensington Shopping Center with a waiver during our last sign ordinance. I don't know how you would do that outside of the ordinance, because basically you're approving a variance based on a hardship and the variance requirements listed within the code. I'd probably want to talk to Sue Ellen how you could provide a waiver within a specific sign. I'm not sure how we would do it. At least with the Kensington Shopping Center, it was provided within the sign ordinance when we were drafting it. We had allowed them because of parking spaces, and you know, there were some promises from the Burka family about changing the sign out over a certain time, but that was within the actual ordinance of the regulation. This would be creating a waiver outside of that process for a specific sign that we're supposed to look at based on a hardship and whether it warrants a variance or not.
Is hardship typically money? I mean, is that actually, I mean, trust me, I know it is a hardship, but is that
It's not listed as a hardship under our code.
okay? Anybody else?
I don't have questions. Whenever we get to the point of giving thoughts on a way forward, I would.
Okay.
chime in.
Is there anyone in the audience that has a question? Not seeing any hands.
Mayor, I can clarify that question with the town attorney if the
Mhm.
council wants to push this to the next council meeting to make a decision. I can clarify what we could do on a waiver. I mean, it's not urgent for us. I mean, I know Glenn wants to get signage up there, but the temporary sign that we have approved is good for 60 days. The council could provide, you know, additional time for that if we need clarity from the town attorney with regards to any kind of waiver for this sign. So,
Okay, it's not taking care of these other art businesses that are actually moving into his building though, as far as giving letting them know that this is the place, although you know, I'm assuming they know that they're going to the Compass Art Center somewhere in their literature. I'm sure they're directing people to that location, that address. Are you willing to wait another month for us to look into additional information from our town attorney on a waiver?
If it increases the likelihood of getting some plastic signs in there and not having to incur the expense of redoing it, then yes, I'm all for any activities. I'd prefer our kids' classes haven't started yet. They come online June 1st. Our studios are getting all rented. We've got I've reached out to all the other art galleries in the area, and I've initiated an art walk that we've coordinated now. So we're trying to really do some wonderful things, but you know, not having a really like not good looking sign in the front is definitely a liability. I'd love, you know, anything that we can do to get moving on it fast. And even if it came back no, it's going to be a while probably before we can do anything about it. So anything we can do to advance the potential for a variance, I'm all for it.
Okay. Council, do you want to discuss this now as far as resolving? Do you think you are prepared, or do you want to give it another month for Matt to get some additional information from the town attorney?
I'll tell you my suggested approach.
Okay.
Please.
I would like to resolve this next month, just because I don't think it's a huge issue. It's a matter of 3 or 4 inches over the height. I'd like to consult with our attorney, because I remember in dealing with prior signs, receiving guidance from her regarding, you know, what changes to signs trigger a requirement to come into compliance. And so obviously changing a light bulb in the sign would not. And I just want to look back at the guidance and figure out, does, you know, when a tenant, so this thing has 6 slots, and if the tenant's changed many times over the years, if a tenant changes and you slide out one panel and you put in a new panel, does that trigger an obligation to bring the sign forward? If not, then I would take the view that a variance isn't even required. That's a big if, because I don't remember the memo. If it is required, I'm certainly aware that we don't want to set precedents of ignoring our sign ordinance regulation. But in this case, I would like to, if we feel that it's legally justifiable, I would like to take the position that strict application of the 6-foot limit, in this case of 4 inches over, would be considered an undue hardship given the cost of replacing the sign. And so, Mr. Kessler, it would be helpful for us to have more than just a back of the envelope calculation to substantiate that cost benefit analysis. So an undue hardship of the cost to replace the sign versus the benefit we get from reducing the height by 4 inches or 5% of the overall height. So that's kind of a two-pronged approach I would like to take for the next meeting, is either we decide that it's not necessary, or that we're willing to grant it on the basis of the undue hardship.
Okay. Ann or Connor?
I am in favor of exploring the approach that Darren described, and I want to add a third layer, which is that I think concurrently, if we could go ahead and have Matt and Alex look at what Glenn has spec'd out for slotting in, just to make sure that that isn't going to pose any issues that we have to then confront after we've approved, so that we have further delays if it looks like, we can do the variance. But I after hearing the whole discussion and thinking through the implications, I tend to agree with Darren in this situation, and I'm more inclined that as long as legally we're have the justifiable basis of cost for the undue hardship to be willing to grant a variance. But I think there are bigger questions beyond this instance that this issue has raised in my mind about, like, how do we ensure that we get signs that are problematic into compliance when the opportunity presents itself? Do we need to have, I was thinking about the county with its leaf blower change, and they're having like a rebate option, or when there's a certain amount of hardship that they're helping to subsidize payment. So these are some of the thoughts I was having, and why I was asking about the distinction between a tenant versus an owner, because I'm looking for solutions that helps us get to the desired impact of an updated sign variance, which is sign ordinance, which is, getting our signs in compliance with that new ordinance, while also balancing the realities of our business community and the idiosyncrasies of certain locations like this one.
Okay. Connor?
Yeah, I'd say I agree with both my colleagues. To Matt, the question I have, adding to Ann's last point, is when I'm reading section 6-104G of the town code, which is what is governing this, it talks about how new commercial signage needs to come into compliance whenever there is a change to sign text, tenancy changes, a property ownership change, business name changes. So Mr. Kessler stumbled into this because he came forward doing things the exact right way, right? Filing permits to put in new signs to direct new customers to his new business in town. But it seems, to Ann's point of when should this sign change have been addressed, this building changed hands in ownership once prior in the last 2 years, 3 years now. And it's changed tenancy like 3 times during that. So are we only capturing this when a permit is filed, as opposed to, is this the way we want our town code to operate, that we just wait for whoever, happens to walk in with the permit and, like, sorry, you're the last person standing, you're stuck with it? Or the flip side isn't much better, right? The flip side is, do we want to be searching the commercial real estate transactions for the moment a building changes, that we slap them with, you got to change all your signs because your ownership changed? I'm not sure how we really want the code to be functioning I feel bad that a tenant within the building who's leased the building to bring it here is the one stuck with this, and not the property owner who, from my reading of the code, should have been dealing with this 3 years ago.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. Glenn filed a permit. He sent over the proposed signage, and I looked at the picture and I asked Annie to go measure the sign because it looked more than 6 feet, and Glenn got caught in the middle. And
Everybody did it right. So
yep,
thank you, Glenn,
and
for following the
that's
rules.
just the way it is. The wall sign on the property has been, this is the place for as long as I've been here. The panels may or may not have changed out a few times. If you read the applicability in the code, it clearly states, there's a number of different things that would require us to check this. I mean, obviously, we're not having Annie go out and monitor commercial signs like Louise was when we first started to look at commercial signs, 15 plus years ago. And it just kind of happened that Glenn became a tenant, put in a permit, and we realized that the sign was not in compliance. So.
Okay, so to that point, I think is another reason to take it back to the town attorney to iron a few of these things out as well. Because I'm now stuck with, having been a part of the sign code changes, right? Not realizing what is the way we really want this to function. Do we want Annie searching whatever CoStar and looking for every time a building transacts? In fact, we've had 3 buildings transact in the town in the last year. Should we be like, what is the way we want to be managing our code, our sign code? So, but I to Darren's point, I would like to take this back to the town attorney and address some of these points with her.
Well, also I'm a bit not confused, but like when by the what Glenn put up, the banner, which is similar to what's on the building already, I assumed that there would not be the single ones. It would be one big one on each side. That's what my assumption was immediately, that it would not be individual the way it was currently used or was previously used. So if you have different tenants and a tenant moves out and you have to replace his panel with something else, does that require another change? But I don't think we've ever been acting on that at all. Every time a business moves, a new panel would come in and, the work is done. So that's something that I want to be clarified too, that as long as they all look the same, do we have to, does somebody need a permit just to change the name of the business? So I think we need some clarity on that as well. Okay, it sounds like we're going to do some homework. And we'll circle back around to you in June 10th, I believe. Is that correct? Is our next meeting?
Yeah, Mayor, we'll need the council to make a motion to continue the variance to our June meeting. So
that's fine. One thing I did want to ask though, is I think Darren asked this question, could you get from Steve maybe a ballpark on what the replacement would be, the cost, so we have an idea?
Sure.
Okay. All right,
something
good.
written down.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
And I did. Sounds good. And I believe I did already send in all the graphics for the panels that would be going in, and I think they were approved, right, Alex?
Yeah, I don't think there would be any issues with them.
Okay.
They're pretty similar to the one that's on the wall, just different text.
Okay. I don't think any of us saw that, so we'll be sure to have that as well next month. Okay, could we get a motion to extend?
Sure. Quickly before I do that, if I could ask staff on the variance memo, if we need it going forward, can we just update the reline? It has 10800 Connecticut address in it, and just properly note that it's 10335 Kensington Parkway.
Oh.
The address is elsewhere in the letter. It's very clear. It's an artifact left over from a template. But with that in mind, I would make a motion that we continue the sign variance for 10335 Kensington Parkway, the Compass Arts Center, until the Town Council's June meeting on June 10th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that we're not able to make the decision tonight, but we'll definitely get to for June.
I appreciate everyone's perspectives and due diligence on this. Thank you all. I'm gonna
Okay.
get back for the last inning of the game. Take care.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
All right.
I think it's June 12th, but
Is
we
it
can
the,
just note that.
It is. It's
Yeah,
on the bottom of the
June
agenda,
12th.
June
Yep.
12th.
oh, yeah, you're right. The 12th. I was doing the second Monday instead of the second Wednesday. Okay, let's go down to number 3. We're gonna need a waiver.
Sure. Council, Kensington Can is planning to hold an event at Flynn Park. And in order to serve alcohol, we need an alcohol waiver from the council. This has been standard practice the last few years. We just need something formal to allow them to have alcohol within one of our town parks.
And that is scheduled for Thursday, May 16th. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the audience? Okay. Can we have a motion?
I move that we approve the request from Kensington Can for an alcohol waiver for the business community event in Flynn Park on May 16th.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, number 4.
Okay, council, staff has been working with Alex Berman, who's a resident on Oberon Street, and his daughter and their Girl Scout troop, Troop 34116. They are looking to put a little library in the town. They had identified St. Paul Park, and we were trying to find a good location for the little library. Within the public documents you should have received what they're planning to put up. This is a similar little library that they installed over, I think in Kensington Parkwood, and they're looking to put one at St. Paul Park. The only concern staff had with regards to the request was the specific location. We wanted it to be monitored daily, and we wanted it to be under 24-hour surveillance. We reached out to Diane Sanderson, who's the headmaster over at the Spring Bilingual Montessori Academy, and she agreed to monitor the book with her, the little library with her staff on a daily basis, at least through the week. And we decided to, assuming council approves, we would like to put it opposite of the Bear Bench on the walkway towards the pavilion in St. Paul Park. This location would be under 24-hour surveillance. It's close enough to the playground area where Diane's staff would be able to check the books at least Monday through Friday. You'll notice there's 2 separate book locations on this. The top location would be for older children, more associated with the Girl Scout troop. The lower location would be monitored by Diane's team over at Spring Bilingual. And other than that, staff didn't have any other concerns as long as the council is okay with this location. Again, it would be opposite of the Bear Bench on the walkway approaching the pavilion.
Is that a problem for like any soccer or other uses of the park? Whether it's Labor Day setup, things like
It
that?
shouldn't be. What it should do is balance out the walkway a little bit. The Bear Bench is quite large. There's nothing opposite of that. So this would kind of balance out the walkway on your approach over to the pavilion. And again, the biggest concern we had was we wanted it under surveillance, just in case there was any issues.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just not uncomfortable, but I'm a little concerned about starting to add things into that open space. Is there going to be any sort of like more creeping of other things? I don't know. Connor, you use the park a lot. Work there.
What I understand that Matt is proposing is that it would be south of the walking track on what you would call the outside of the ring, similar to where the Bears are framing the pavilion, and also kind of blocking out a little bit of the back garbage can. And so it wouldn't be on the inside of the track, correct, Matt?
Oh, I thought he said across from the bear, but you meant this way.
Well,
not-
direct-
yeah, he means
directly.
side to
Oh.
side.
So
side
if
to
you're
side. Okay.
walking
Yeah.
into the pavilion, there's a walkway from the circular walking path in St. Paul Park. There's a
Okay.
path from that into the pavilion. On the left-hand side is
Mhm.
the bear bench. This would be directly across it, the walking,
Okay.
the
Across
approach
to
to the
me
pavilion.
means across.
Yeah,
so
sorry, I wasn't
Yeah.
clear.
I was
Okay.
picturing the same thing, Tracy, so I'm
yeah,
glad you.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with it being to the left of the bear bench, if you if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have a pretty good feeling that it will be monitored by a certain 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old, who I'm sure will check it every day. So
Okay. Any other questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So, do you want us to make a motion? Do you want a motion on it?
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Okay, make a motion, please.
sure, I'll move that we approve the location of the Little Free Library to the location that Matt identified on the outside of the track, opposite the Bears.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. All right, number 5.
Good. Thank you, Council. And I forgot to mention, Diane Sanderson did say that she would supply the initial books, at least for the younger children. And then she would monitor that on a regular basis. So,
Great.
number 4, a little similar. Diane, during the conversation with the Little Library, asked Alex and I to bring forward to the council a proposal to install a bench in St. Paul Park to honor Spring Bilingual's founder, Anna Neary. You received a memo from Diane, which shows a bench. I don't know if you can't pull it up, Alex, I'll kind of show it here. So she had proposed installing a bench similar looking to this. Her location that she'd like to install it is, there is a gate from the back end of Spring Bilingual, and then there's a walkway that leads you to the main playground area. If you're facing the gate and your back is to the playground equipment, I recommended to her that on the right-hand side would be more ideal. The left-hand side, there is a shed there that Spring Bilingual uses for some of their materials that we have approved previously. And if it was on the right-hand side there's an opening. It wouldn't affect any trees. It shouldn't affect any equipment. It's kind of away from the playground area. Diane is, if the council's, has some concerns about this bench specifically, Diane is open to a different styled bench. But really this is more to honor the founder of the school.
Is that a stone material or is that a plastic? Do you know?
It's a stone material, and the wood is supposed to match her cedar fence that she
Okay.
had installed on the property.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
attractive.
Yeah.
When we approved the shed, did we have to have a complicated lawyerly type document about installation and removal and things like that? And would we need a similar one for this, or is this just a bench?
I think we just had a simple contract agreement written up, and we may have even included within their use permit that we have for them, that we do have a park use permit with them to use the field and the playground equipment during the day. I'll have to
I
double
think there
check.
was an MOU, wasn't there? Of just whose
Yeah,
responsibility, what material. We basically picked out the shed, didn't we?
yeah, we picked it out. We actually found the shed,
Right.
and they purchased it and installed it. So yeah, there is an agreement. I can't remember if we put it in the use contract or not, or if it was a separate MOU.
Well, it would be helpful to probably tag this on to the same MOU or the agreement. Just so it's, understood it's their responsibility. We take this, if it's damaged, that's on, that sort of thing.
Matt, I'm looking at Google Earth now. Can you help me again with where they're proposing to locate this?
Yeah, can you share your screen, Connor? That might
Yeah.
help the
Yep.
council.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah, if we make any changes to that area, will it fit?
If you can see
So
the walking, so the shed
here's
is
the
not,
fence.
yeah, the shed is not visible on this aerial.
Right.
The shed, yeah, there you go. So if you see
It
where
is right there.
yep. So
That's where the
if you
shed
can
would be. Yeah.
yeah, so if you can see the little walking path, which has, I think it's a little different than that now. I don't know what year
It
that's
is.
from.
It's paved. This is a
Yeah,
couple years old because now we have it asphalted in.
yeah. So at least where the ramp is that's entering into the playground area, there is now an asphalt path that leads directly to their gate. So if you're
Hmm.
walking from the playground area to the gate, it would be on the right-hand side. So it should not affect the additional equipment that we're proposing to put in through a state grant. Um, it's just to the right. This picture is not clear, but to the left, there wasn't a lot of room to the left, and then the shed was there. But there's some room to the right. There's no trees that would affect it. It should not affect our proposed additional playground area in between these two areas. Um, and it would be, yeah, I mean, just picture that ramp going straight into a gate, and it would be just to the right of that.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's my initial just concern is picking a place now prior to doing improvements for the playground. It could be more prudent, and maybe this is something that's easily movable. I mean, if it's stone, it's going to have a little bit of heft, but um, I would be hesitant to place it right before we're going to need to tear all of that up for playground improvements.
Yeah,
The other, yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
no, I was agreeing with you. I would just think that we could let Diane know she's probably not aware that we're going to make some changes to the playground equipment in that area, and that through the grant that we received, and that whether this can wait or if it could be placed somewhere else until we get the playground done.
Yeah, I think Diane would be fine with waiting on this during the conversations we've had. This is something her and I have talked about for a few years now.
Okay.
So and she is
My
aware about the playground improvements. And I think she would be fine with waiting until after that's been completed. So
Yeah, I think that would be
the
better.
other the other concern I'd have is with community parks and playground grants, which is what we received to make the improvements that we're looking to make. They have certain things that you're supposed to do as far as putting up a plaque of acknowledging the grant program. And what I don't want is, I would hate for them to think that Spring Bilingual is conflating that the playground improvements were made in honor of Miss Neary as opposed to through the state's grant process.
Okay. I think if we just ask her to wait while we, because this is something that we hope to do. I don't think we can get it done this year. It takes forever to get that playground equipment. Do you think it's something we can start in the fall?
That's my hope. I mean, initially, I've talked with Matt, and I reached out to Mike McQuarrie from the state. They plan on issuing letters officially within the next week. Obviously, funds would be released July 7th, but I would like us to, I would say somewhere right after, let's say mid-June, when I have just a touch more bandwidth, was to reconvene the group that helped us walk through, kind of make sure we've got everything final with the vendor and figure out a project timeline based on probably supply chain and vendor schedule.
Yeah, that's what I'd be worried about is the supply chain.
Yep.
So it may get
Yep.
pushed into next year pretty easily.
So I can reach out to Jeff Stone and begin asking those questions, and then obviously communicating out to Spring Bilingual and the Child Place, to let them make sure they're aware that this is happening, but also that there will be disruption to that playground once
Right.
we know the construction schedule. But if she can wait, Ms. Sanderson, until it's complete, we may also find another location that works better once we know what once everything is put back in place.
Okay.
Is this just a bench that sits on the ground though? I mean, if they just put it there and then it needs to kind of go off to the side during construction, maybe that's another option too.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk that, the construction guys just show up when you're not expecting them and they say, no, you don't need to move it. Then they do move it. It gets broken. I think it's just better to wait.
Okay. All right.
Anne, are you in agreement with that or?
Yeah, I agree with waiting. I've
Okay.
been quiet because I love the idea of the bench. I have to say I'm not crazy about that exact example and how it fits with other benches around town, but I don't want to stand in the way of a memorial bench.
Okay.
Right. But to your point, Ann, this would make the third, if not fourth, different style in St. Paul Park.
I was actually going to go for a walk and look and see, because there's the metal.
So
bench.
There's the metal ones that are in the playgrounds. There's the traditional park bench ones that are kind of under the trees, and then there's the wooden ones that are used for the bus stop for MCPS.
Benches are like our housing stock. We're very eclectic.
So,
all right. You don't need a motion on this. Just let Diane know that we like the idea of the bench. Maybe not the style, but like the idea of the bench. But we're gonna hold off until we're finished doing.
Sounds good. I'll talk to her, and she is open to a different styled bench. This is just something that she floated to us. She liked that it at least the seat matched her cedar fence.
Yeah.
But I think she'd be pretty open to a different styled bench. She does like the benches on Howard Avenue that we installed.
Oh, good.
So we'll discuss that probably in the fall once we have the improvements done. So.
Okay, we have an idea of when this could get started. Okay, good. All right. As it's approaching 8 o'clock, I want to bring up public appearances before we move on. So is there anyone who would like to bring anything up to the council that's not on the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So we will move on. Okay, so let's go through the council. If you have anything that you want to report. Connor, can I get you to start?
Sure. We already discussed my first one, which was the state grant. Again, huge thank you to town staff, especially Susan, for putting in some last minute Herculean efforts to make sure that it conformed to what the state needed. Altogether, it's a matching grant, so the town will receive $177,000 for a total $344,000 project. The idea is that we will connect the playground with the swings, adding new apparatuses that are designed for ADA compliance and for children with mobility issues. And then part of that, which Matt and I are working with the state on, is to change the ground cover from the current wood chips, which I know it's going to disappoint some because they use it as imaginative play to make cakes, but create a more stable surface and encourage kids with mobility devices to be able to move and play with able-bodied kids throughout the whole playground area. So that was a big win for the town in this year's state budget, and we'll get started on that in the next couple of weeks. other than that, the only news I have is to wish my son Declan a happy birthday. Today is his 11th birthday, and it kicks off Birthday Palooza in our house as we have 3 of them this month.
Gosh. Well, you kind of knock them
And
all
Mother's
out
Day.
at once. That's not so bad.
I mean, you just buy all your cards at once.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you. Just quick question. Have you had a chance to think about the parking issue yet? Because obviously we'll keep plugging along on that one.
Yes, that's the next one. So I walked it. I was at Baby Cat for another event over the weekend, and ironically, a few people were talking about coming for this event and not being from here, have never come, just finding their way back here and then finding parking. So we got to talking. I'm reaching out to Terry Redmond and Sam Musamelli from Baby Cat. I will talk with Mr. Asher and and Ryan Metzroff from Wilco. But the idea is to come up with a plan for wayfinding signs, and then better. I think it may work better for us to design the parking map of where is appropriate to park, right, and share that with our businesses as something that we do. And I'm happy to take the lead on that, because part of the problems that Baby Cat has run into, and maybe some others, is they design maps that aren't, 1, accurate, 2, clear, and 3, they're directing people to park in places that they actually don't have authority to tell people to park. So that's part of the problem, whether it's on streets that you can only park on one side or that may have restrictions, but they've identified some lots that are problematic because there is no parking agreement with them. So I'm working on that. And then obviously the longer term, I wouldn't say fix, but strategy to address it, continuing to plug away at the M&T property.
Okay. I think it would be helpful too for when that map is created that we put, how long it takes to walk. Like from Town Hall, it's a 5-minute walk or a 6-minute walk. I think that is helpful for people to realize, because it looks far away on the map, but it actually isn't that far.
Yeah. You know what? When Nate's back, I'll reach out to him as well to see if there's any psychology around distance or time, right? If you put it's 2/3 of a mile, do people panic? But if you tell them it's 6 minutes, right? Are they like, oh, 6 minutes? I can walk 6 minutes.
Yeah, I would think time would be better.
I think time.
Me.
So, okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Darren?
I don't have anything other than to express gratitude that we kept plugging away at 3 things that have been completed recently. The rush hour traffic restrictions on St. Paul at University, and I saw the police enforcing up there yesterday, I believe. The rapid flashing beacon on Metropolitan, and then the radar speed sign. And I just think that those are great additions to kind of calming the flow of traffic through town. So I appreciate the perseverance.
Good. Connor, do you know if the flashing stop sign at Oberon and St. Paul's, you feel like people are stopping now?
It's having an effect. I will put it that way, right? The people who are just going to blow through it are slowing down.
Yeah.
Same with the one at St. Paul and Pliers Mill. It's really a function of time of day of week, right? As I walk Molly the last walk of the day, which maybe 11 o'clock, that it's just people feeling like there's no chance there's going to be kids or people walking. That's why they're kind of rolling the stops. But the blinking apparatus they're all working great now. The distance settings are good. The time that they stay on are good. I do think it's having an impact. So whether or not people are stopping, I think they're slowing. The people who were going to blow it anyways, it's much more noticeable. So it's having the desired effect.
Good. And that's the same on
the only other thing
Pliers Mill too?
Yeah, that one's having a much greater effect. And then I just wanted to piggyback on Darren's thing. The rapid flashing beacon, which was, I don't know, 8 years in the making. there's just a ton of parents up on the north side, right, especially at the bus stop, whose kids have already been using it for the farmers market. They are over the moon, ecstatic and thankful, and they've been showering praise that I want to make sure everybody on the council, Mayor Tracy, Matt, Alex, I've been the recipient of it, but I wanted to share it that it people feel so much better about their kids going to the farmers market or to places on the south side of town because they feel like there's a safer way to cross metropolitan there. So you have happy neighbors.
We're very fortunate because the one at St. Paul Street, that one that came through, even though we were thinking flashing beacon there, I think having the four-way stop is really, I've gone up there a lot and they stop. They may roll if nobody's there, but if you're there, they do stop. So.
And again, to that one, I'm unbelievably happy that we got the four-way stop because there was no other reason, there was no other mechanism to slow traffic from Pliers Mill till Pachi's over at Forest Glen Avenue.
Right.
So that one's been tremendous just to keep traffic slow throughout.
Yeah, good. Anne?
Yeah, just a few things to mention. Before I forget, we should put on the agenda for next month the alcohol waiver request for Juneteenth. I think we can get it in just in time because Juneteenth is June 15th, rain date June 16th in St. Paul Park. Second thing I want to mention is just a big thank you to town staff, Matt, Susan, and Alex, and everyone who helped with the community budget forum. I think for our first time attempting to do that, it went quite well. We had around 20 residents, as far as I could tell, participate, and a lot of great education and information exchange around how our budget comes together and what our plans are. So I really want to acknowledge the effort that was put in by staff during a very busy time because I think it was worth it. So thank you.
I think that's something that definitely we'll be doing, on a yearly basis. I think it was very successful.
I think it went so well, you can't possibly not do it again.
Set a precedent. Well, and we can now that we have a feel for what can be like, we can slot it into the calendar a little bit better so that folks can plan for it.
Yeah, we should definitely get it on the calendar sooner than later. We know when the budget is, when we will be meeting on the budget, introducing, when we'll be, we already kind of know those dates. So I think it would be just something we need to get on sooner than later. And then also on MMC's calendar too, because there's no reason why we couldn't, I know the time wise it's better for staff, but maybe not better for some other people, but we could definitely record it. It may not be live, but we should be able to record it.
Okay. Yeah, we can look into that. And we did get requests about providing a summary or minutes from that gathering. And so I started to capture notes, was going to put together a summary that the staff could look at and others could look at. But my thought was you can link to the presentations that were shared and just a high level summary of the discussion. And then I had one more thing. Oh, I mentioned this last meeting, but just a reminder, and I will work with the Greenscape Committee to make sure this is broadly distributed. On May 18th, we will have another tree care workshop for town residents. So I know we've got a registration page that Alex helped set up. So I'll just work to make sure that we get the word out so that residents can take advantage of that on Saturday morning, May 18th. That's all I have.
Anne, can I ask you a question on the Juneteenth? Have they sent out anything to groups that have already participated, in the table area? Because I know St. Paul's was looking for information on that and couldn't find it. So, because they wanted to participate. So I don't know who.
Jamie and Tondaleo, I think, have been handling most of that. So I'll relay that to Jamie. He's been coordinating the civic group participation and working with Tondaleo on the layout. So
okay, yeah, because St. Paul's wants to participate, but I didn't know where to send him. I can give him Jamie's email, but
yeah, that'd be great, and I'll relay to him.
Okay, All right, I just got a couple of things. Ann and I did attend on Tuesday. The county council held a Jewish American History Month proclamation ceremony. It was very well attended. It was quite moving, the number of speakers that we had, and so I'm glad that both Ann and I were able to go. So I think we were. I don't know how the invitation was sent out. We were the only municipality that attended. But I'm not sure who got invitations and who didn't. Obviously, a lot of people at Leisure World got invitations.
The world was well represented. Thank you.
Yeah, they were definitely well represented. But I'm glad we went as representatives of the municipalities within Montgomery County. So.
And I was going to mention, I'm glad I forgot to include that in my announcements. I was handed a copy of the proclamation, so I took it over to Town Hall this morning. I don't know if you noticed.
I did. I saw it on the table. I have a copy too. So yeah, I'll put that one upstairs. But yeah, no, it was a very nice event, and so I'm definitely glad that we made the effort to go.
I agree.
I also want to make sure the council, we already talked about it, but the Kensington Ken Party by the Fountain, who knows yet whether they're gonna stop by? It's from 5:30 to 7 in Flint Park. Does any of the council members plan to attend?
You said May 16th?
It's May 16th. 5:30 to 7.
I will plan to attend.
Okay.
What were the hours again?
5:30 to 7.
Yeah, I'll plan to be there.
Darren. Connor, are you able, or
I
is that
plan.
birthday? You can bring
the
everybody
birthday's the
over
next
to the
day.
birthday party. We're serving wine.
Birthday is the next day.
It is Baxter's birthday that day.
Oh, bring Baxter then.
Well, why didn't you say that? That changes everything. That one is likely a no for me because we are celebrating Aoife's birthday that night, the 3rd,
Okay.
because I've got class the next day.
Okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
3 is good. So now that I've gotten the council, I'm gonna need either Alex or Matt to just make an appearance at the MML chapter meeting on Thursday the 16th at 6:30. It is by Zoom.
I can
So-
cover that.
Okay, just
Um,
it is the nominations.
Okay,
Oh, wait.
So
do I-
yeah, if you could check in on that, that'd be great.
sure. And then, Mayor, quick note on Flynn Park. Kolb is scheduled to be here on Tuesday.
Oh, good.
That was the earliest we could get him in, but they'll be here Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, there's something wrong with the breaker, so the fountain is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So anyway, so hope to get that back. And then you're gonna probably have to, what do you call when you throw the stuff into the fountain and you get rid of all the green stuff? There's a term for that.
Shock it.
Shock it. That's it. You shock it. It's gonna need a good shocking. So okay. And let's see. So I was on a call with the mayors of Montgomery County, and Julie Palakovich Carr was on there, and she was talking about the bills that have been passed. And one of the bills was HB 212. It is a noise camera. And the noise camera will be for, it's only for Montgomery County and Prince George's County. There's 6 total, and each county gets 3. And they're geared towards the cars with the loud mufflers. And so it's kind of just trying it out, seeing if they work. And but they are specifically set for cars only. They can't do music, so that's not part of it. So if somebody's got their radio cranked up, it's only for mufflers and things like that. So anyway, I just found that kind of interesting that they were going to pilot that, but only in the 2 counties.
Did they say, Tracy, did they say where they're piloting it?
Well, it's in Montgomery County, so it will be up to probably MC Dot to decide, where they
Okay.
go. But they're movable. So, they might have it on Connecticut Avenue and Rock Creek Palisades, which I know has a terrible problem between the town and Veers Mill with people going through there.
Yeah.
But they'll move them around. Now the fine, because they don't actually have the person, just the car, The fine is $75.
I thought there
So,
So was this new legislation that enabled this?
yes, they have them in France. They're in Europe, I think, is where they are.
Because I thought as a matter of state law, automated traffic enforcement could only be for red lights, speed in school zones and construction zones. I didn't.
Well, they've adding these noise cameras, but look up HB 212.
Yeah.
But that definitely perked my ears when I saw noise cameras. So,
And I wonder if this works, Darren, because it's not a moving violation, it's a noise violation. But
Yeah.
hey, listen, they're trying new strategies to address what we've always seen as the issue is like, how do you enforce? Like, it's great, laws were on the book, and then the next one was you're not supposed to be modifying your exhaust system, but enforcement's always the thing, right? All the ink on paper isn't changing anything. It's how do you enforce it? And so interesting to see. Curious what the results will be.
yeah. So, but it'll be a pilot program, and I don't know if the entire state will want to adopt it, but at least Prince George's and Montgomery, where probably most of the problems are happening. So
Okay.
anyway, okay. All right, well, that's all I've got. Matt or Susan, do you have anything, or Alex? Anything you guys want to share?
I have nothing other than the ordinance, so.
Okay.
Did you want me to say who got the benches?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Tracy did the bench drawing today. We have 10 lucky winners. We've got Stephanie Frankel, Owen Logan, Stefano, I don't have a last name, our very own Darren Bartram, Megan Weibel, Laurie McGuckin, Benita Condon, Ian Lipman, Evan Reynolds, and Julia O'Malley. The lucky winners.
And we had Olin, all the people that had put their names into the hat were invited to come at 2:00 today to see the drawing, and only Olin came. So we had a witness to the whole thing, and I was glad she won.
She should get to pick. She should get to pick hers first.
I know, she was like number 5 or 6. I'm like, oh, I would feel really bad, but no, she was very happy. So Alex sent out an email to everybody that won the benches, and they were very excited. So can't wait to get their bench. And I'm sure the Public Works can't wait to get them out of the garage. So, anyway, so thank you for doing that. And we'll get them once they've made their donation. They will set up delivery, and the town crew will take them around, drop them off. Okay. All right, so we're ready to move down to ordinance, resolutions, and regulations.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Council, before you this evening is an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the Town of Kensington to appropriate and adopt the fiscal year 2025 budget and to levy a tax on certain real and personal property under the provisions of 6-203 of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland. We held the public hearing at our April meeting on April 10th. We received additional comments with regards to the budget and the CIP at our budget forum on May 1st. We are proposing one amendment. Staff is proposing one amendment on the budget that we initially introduced. We had discussed this publicly and put it in the budget document that the auditors had recommended that we reallocate the ARPA funds from FY24 to FY25 because we were running the risk of running a negative fund balance. The auditors continued to evaluate the situation. I mean, it's been a few months since we started putting this together, so they've had more time to evaluate our finances for the current year, and they decided that we are not going to run a negative fund balance. They are no longer recommending a budget ordinance to resolve the issue. It looks like we're going to be okay. However, we did get the recommendation to not reallocate the funds to this current fiscal year. So the change in the budget is the second ARPA payment is not being reallocated to this current fiscal year. So you'll see a reduction in revenues, which corresponds to a reduction in expenses. And you'll notice that there is no longer $238,000 being allocated to the CIP. So the amended budget is basically we are no longer proposing or requesting a reallocation of the second ARPA payment from FY24 to FY25. The main issue for that initial conversation was the ARPA funds need to be expended in order for it to come off the books. We are having some slight delays with a number of the projects associated with the ARPA funds. Specifically, there's been some delays related to engineering to St. Paul Street and Farragut Avenue, where we've had to ask our engineers to do a little more than we had anticipated, which has delayed the projects. But we look to get those started later in the summer, very early fall, to move forward with the two storm drain projects that we discussed at length during the budget for. There was no additional comment received. Public comment did close at 4 p.m. this past Monday, May 6th.
And the comments at the forum were just general comments, just for clarity, nothing.
Yeah, just I guess for an overview, we provided a general review to the attendees of the forum of where revenues come from, kind of where we're allocating the funds within FY25, and then we kind of discussed at length the CIP projects that are discussed in the budget document. As we mentioned, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be completed, but we have to budget in preparation as if we are going to move forward with each of those projects. And I think we got some pretty good questions during the forum. Again, we didn't receive anything outside of the forum other than the public hearing last month in April. But yeah, so we are ready to adopt the budget. And as soon as it's adopted, Susan will send the tax rates over to the state, which are due, this week, next week?
I don't know if everybody could amend, do a motion and amend as clearly as what you had just explained. So, how do you want to handle that?
If you understood what I said, good. If you were trying to figure out how to even remotely begin to explain this.
Well, you could just say as amended, but that's a little bit
so
wishy-washy
if you're ready to adopt, and there's the public comment has ended, but if the council has any questions, the amendment should be to remove the second allocation of the ARPA fund that we had proposed, remove it out of the revenues and expenditures for the new FY25 proposed revenues and expenditures. If you need the actual number. Susan, do you have it? I think
I have it, but
I pulled it out. Yeah.
I mean, you could just say as amended, presented in this ordinance, but it's 1,148,193 that was in there, and the reappropriation was 246,806, and the CIP was 1,386,486. So we're just removing those three numbers. And then we adjusted the property tax number slightly, just so the budget would balance.
Yeah. So Susan's suggestion of adopting it as presented works for me. So.
Well, I think Connor was typing away there, so maybe
I did type, but mainly just to make sure that when Darren goes to make the motion, he gets it right. I'm ready to make it. There's no more public comment. You ready for it, Matt?
So can I get a motion?
Yes. I move that we adopt ordinance O-02-2024, amended to remove the second allocation of the ARPA funds from the revenues and expenditures for FY25.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you,
Well,
council.
I think that's everything on the agenda. I'm sorry Nate wasn't here to join us tonight, but he will be back for the June meeting. And also, I forgot to mention that we have 4 new doggy stations on the north side of town. So I need to update us, our Sustainable Kensington group. So letting them know that we have 4 more stations. So there's one on Lexington. These are north of the St. Paul Park. So one on Lexington, two on St. Paul, north of Pliers Mill, and then one down on North Kensington Parkway. So,
The one on North Kensington Parkway at Oberon works great.
oh, good. Well, you know, we can't just walk our dogs around the park, even though that's exciting, but we realize there are no other dog stations otherwise just around the park. So hopefully we'll have new dog walk routes to work with your dog stations.
Mayor, can we also note that once Councilmember Engel's back in town, we will need to schedule a closed session.
Mhm.
So there will be a closed session being announced at some point, probably later this month.
Great, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else to report, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.